Money and headlines. Help me out with this, guys. I realize it works. I realize to come out and you're flashing the gold watch and you're riding around in the cool cars. I get that works. But I didn't think that it would. That would be a surprise to me. I remember when Mayweather started doing it. He's Money Mayweather, right? He was Pretty Boy Floyd. He couldn't sell any tickets. He becomes Money Mayweather, and it works. He's got the gold watch, and he's riding around in cars, and he's throwing all this money out. If you're Floyd Mayweather and you got $100,000 that you can go and drop at the jewelry store, just by example, the people are going to see that and say, okay, great. Then you're being paid too much to box. It sounds like you have stupid money that you don't even know what to do with. Therefore, you don't need as much money. Therefore, I'm going to pay less. I don't have an ability to pay less for the ticket, so I'm just going to give you zero. That would have been my guess. I would have been wrong. I would have missed that part. Rick Ross has come out today, and he says he'll put $10 million for somebody to fight Jake Paul. And a quote is, you split it up however you want, but I'll put $10 million. Now, I know Rick Ross, it's very loose, but if Rick doesn't have $10 million. I don't mean an extra 10. Rick could sell everything and consolidate and go to his brother that works at the bank and ask for a loan. He still can't come up with $10 million. So what happens when a guy comes out and makes a claim like this? Now, Rick is probably going to go, oh, it's just for headlines. I was just trying to get attention. I was just trying to be part of it. Does it work that way? Don't play with money. Don't play with money and then come and tell me it's going to be a headline. If you ever say, I will, and you fill it in, and it is a dollar amount, you had better write the check if it comes back your way. Put myself in that spot. I made you guys plenty of claims, and I've said, for anybody that can, I'm going to give 2 tickets to any UFC. I paid every damn one of those but one. One time I was right. Nobody came in and got me. Every other time that I've said it, somebody's come out with some level of evidence and showed me that I was wrong, or at least they thought I was. Paid those all. I'm just sharing. I don't play with money, but I don't respect people that do play with money. Rick Ross says he'll put up $10 million. Rick Ross needs to put up $10 million. His mind apparently doesn't work that way. Drake is another colossal liar that you guys keep on. Drake's going to bet $250,000 on such and such athlete. He's even going to provide the ticket for you. That is a Photoshop from the betting company that Drake is with. Drake has never bet on an MMA fight, just so you understand. And Drake could cover the spread. He just doesn't do it. What? Don't play with money. You're not going to gain my respect. I'm just sharing that with you. If you got money to throw in, you got money to burn, that's part of your market angle, like it is with Floyd. I can't give Floyd a hard time because he was the first to do it. First to do it within sport. Floyd, Pretty Boy Floyd, stole the idea from rappers. I don't begrudge him for that. I commend him for seeing something that worked, identifying a demographic and a market, and going out and, you could call it paying homage. You stole somebody else's gimmick. I'm all right with that. I don't mind it in the least. But I will stand by the idea, don't play with money. Rick Ross says he'll put up $10 million. I'll fight Jake today, right now. Jake is somebody that I'll fight him right now for your $10 million, Rick. The problem is you can't cover the spread. You don't have the $10 million, and you got a headline. You think that it's marketing. I think you're a low-class guy. I think that about anybody, and I don't care what the number is. In this case, it's a make-believe that Rick Ross doesn't have $10 million. I don't care if it's $10. If you said it and it came out of your mouth, you got to pay it, or you don't have integrity. I don't know if there's a better way to call a human on their integrity than them covering their debts. I don't know about that. And there's good deals and there's bad deals, by the way, but a deal's a deal. Once it's agreed to and what it's said, if you lose the whole thing, you had this great idea and this great marketing plan, the whole thing blows up, and this is going to send you and your family into debt. If you said it, then you're going into debt, or you don't have integrity. It's as simple as that. Don't play with money. It's my opinion. And I will share, and none of this was meant to say Rick Ross doesn't have $10 million. Nobody's got $10 million. I mean, right, we're not putting Rick down because he doesn't have it. Rick doesn't have $10 million. Rick has never had $10 million. It's a stupid thing for Rick Ross to say. I didn't realize there was such a hard time getting Jake an opponent. I mean, moreover, that was a bigger surprise for me. I thought that Jake Paul versus Andrew Tate, I thought that made sense. I thought that was going to happen. One that isn't being discussed is Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Now, I begrudge Anderson for that. One thing that Anderson truly does believe, he really believes it, is that you should not come out, you should not hype, you should not self-promote. You shouldn't talk, you shouldn't try to get things, you should just train and show up and perform. I can appreciate that. I think that there's an honor in that. I really do. There's not a business attached to that. There's nothing profitable attached to that. I think what Anderson went out and did in boxing surprised people. I think it was very commendable. To go in, I didn't get to see the match. Anderson versus Chavez Jr. I didn't get to witness the match. I read about it. But he went in to a filthy and dirty sport, right? That of boxing. You're not going to get a fair decision. There's no such thing. He went into Mexico, into the city where Julio Cesar Chavez is from, and took on Julio Cesar Chavez's son. Very obvious. In the dirty, filthy sport of boxing, when you do that thing, if you go the distance, you win. Anderson still won. I mean, Anderson must have really beat that young man. I didn't see it. I'm sharing with you my evidence. He must have really been dominant for Anderson to come over, not only at his age, but into the sport of boxing, which he loved, but he didn't have experience in. For him to go all of those rounds and being in condition to do it against a guy who's a second-generation boxer in his hometown. I mean, in all fairness, good job. I think that Anderson could have parlayed that. I think that he really could have used it. Dana White himself was speaking. It was Logan Paul, not Jake. But Dana even came out and said, hey, Logan, why don't you fight Anderson? I mean, that's massive. Right there, that statement of which you could capture and play on trail, that's worth millions of dollars, truly and literally. I never saw that get pursued. And I don't doubt that Jake would mind boxing Anderson, by the way, but it's Anderson's job to come in and get that fight. I never heard him call for it. I never heard him speak up. That's okay. I just think it's a missed opportunity. I think as each day goes by, it's a missed opportunity. I would think, well, what would I do if I was in Anderson's shoes? If I had a couple of these really big wins, if I was in the gym training every day, if this was my true love boxing, if this is what I'm committed to do, boy, I'd have some boxing matches lined up. Doesn't really matter how good you are at acting if you can't get an acting job. It doesn't really matter how good you are at plumbing if you can't get somebody to hire you to fix their pipes. I mean, it's one of those things where the most important thing about you being in this profession is that you have a job to go to. None of this is meant to be about Anderson. I'm just suggesting for you that I thought that fight would have had some legs. None of this is meant to be about Andrew Tate. I would have thought Andrew Tate and Paul would have had some legs. It comes down to Rick Ross, whether he's disingenuous or not. I don't think that's the headline when you talk about money. I think that's an unhonorable man who's not going to write a check and thought that it was just a clever thing to say. That's my own personal opinion. You do what you want with it. I didn't know it was so hard to get Jake a fight. I realize boxers won't box Jake. I get that. That community has proven, not only by two of them no-showing, by no one else in that community offering to take their spot. That community took a hit there. But there's people that'll box Jake, right? Am I wrong about that? I don't think you could call an MMA guy and have him back down. I don't think you could call Mike Perry and have him say no. I don't think you could call Anderson Silva and have him say no. Why isn't that happening? Why aren't those phone calls being made? What am I missing here? Why can Rick Ross get away with a headline inserting his fat ass into a sport of which he has no business about money that doesn't exist? Why is that happening?